Good day, everyone. So for today, we're going to discuss about the module number 4 for Advanced Software Engineering, focus on requirements engineering. The objective of this module is to introduce software engineering requirements or software engineering or software requirements itself, and to discuss the processes involved in discovering and documenting these requirements. So upon the completion of this module, we look forward that we will be able to understand the concepts of user and system requirements and why these requirements should be written in different ways. We will be able to understand the difference between functional and non-functional software requirements, understand how requirements may be organized in a software requirements document, understand the principal requirements, engineering activities of elicitation, analysis, validation, and the relationship between these activities, and understand why requirements management is necessary and how it support other requirements engineering activities. The requirements for a system are the descriptions of what the system should do, the services that it provides, and the constraint on its operation. These requirements reflects the needs of customers, no, for a system that serves as a certain purpose, such as controlling a device, placing an order, or finding information. And the process of finding out, analyzing, documenting, and checking these services and constraints is called requirements engineering, because the term requirement is not used consistently in the software industry. In some cases, no, a requirement is simply a high-level abstract statement of a service, no, that a system should provide or constraint on a system. Uh, at, at the other extreme, it is a detailed formal definition of a system function. Uh, if a company, wishes to let a contract for a large software development project, it must define its needs in a sufficiently abstract way that a solution is not predefined. So the requirement must be written so that several contractors can bid for the customers, offering perhaps different ways of meeting the client organization's needs. Once a contract has been awarded, the contractor must write a system definitions for the client in more detail so that the client understand and can validate what the software will do. Both of these documents may be called the requirement documents for the system. And to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter this morning. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for that introduction, sir. So my name is Robert Quintilla, and as mentioned by sir, I'll be the one expounding what is requirements engineering. So based on my personal understanding of requirements engineering, it is the discipline that involves establishing and documenting the requirements of a certain task or a certain project with database. So let's start. Overview. So requirements engineering is the systematic process of defining, documenting, and managing the requirements that a system or product or software application must meet. It is a critical phase in the software development and engineering life cycle. The primary goal of requirements engineering is to establish a clear and comprehensive understanding of what the stakeholders or the client or the end users expect from the system being developed. So, in layman's term, it is the area of system engineering that deals with the process of developing and verifying the system's requirements. Following good requirement engineering helps achieve the primary objective of making sure that the delivered system meets the customer or client's needs. That being said, there are some example of requirement engineering. First is elicitation, the gathering of requirements from the stakeholders or the client or the end users. This may be done via interviews or workshops and other.
Go ahead.
All right, sir. Thank you. So, like I've mentioned, elicitation is one technique used in requirements engineering, whereas we gather the requirements or we take surveys, interviews, workshops, and other techniques to understand what the users and client stakeholders need. With that being said, let's move forward to the analysis, another requirement for requirements engineering. In this phase, we are analyzing and organizing the gathered requirements for basically we're just collating all of the results from the gathered information from the elicitation phase. Whereas this phase involves short requirements. In this phase, actually, this is very much of a brainstorming and gathering of data, of collected data in our phase of in the requirements engineering, which leads us to the next phase, which is the documentation, whereas everything will be, all of the conclusions, all of the information gathered will be documented, all the requirements using various forms like use cases, user stories, or formal requirement specification. Clear documentation is essential. Actually, in every project, in every, even in school, documentation is very important and crucial for a successful project, for a communication and future references. In that, validation and verification is also important for us. It is ensuring that the requirements are correct, unambiguous, and meet the needs of the stakeholders or clients. Validation focuses on ensuring the like requirements are captured, while verification ensures that they are correctly documented. That being said, let's move forward to the traceability, which is actually pretty straightforward for establish the traceability, whereas you can backstep or you can look back to whatever it is that you have already done with the requirements to show the relationship and manage and changes and ensure that all requirements are then addressed and we don't have anything that no lacking whatsoever, and all of the requirements of our clients are then met. With this technique, we can ensure that all of those criteria that I've just mentioned is meet or are met with the traceability technique. Next, the man- um, stroke it involves pharmacy provide data. One of my experience as a software engineer is the change management. Definitely is one of the harder part in the life cycle. Whereas as technology evolves, so is the requirement and the needs of our clients. So we have to adapt quickly, and we have to learn as soon as possible all of the changes that we may be required to do so for the said project. And for example, your application need to be modified, or some feature or functions may be added or removed. Proper change control is essential to prevent scope creep, which is actually will lead to a very catastrophic actually to your project and team if ever those needs are not met. Which leads us to the next important part of requirements engineering, which is prioritization. Determining the relative importance of requirements. Requirements may be critical. They're nice to have actually. For example, in Facebook the update whereas you can leave different kind of reaction to a post, whereas previous patch offers like the on the like and heart reactions. But my point is the change in requirement, and those are critical. Like I mentioned, the reaction like in the Facebook application, it's not that it's a nice to have, but for requirements engineering, prioritization helps in resource allocation. Next is the conclusion. Requirements engineering is essential to the success of a project. When requirements are well defined and managed, it reduces the risk of misunderstandings, scope creep, and project failures. It's a structured and systematic approach to ensure that what is being built aligns with the stakeholder or client's expectation. That's it, sir. Thank you. And
Okay. Um, there are some concerns, no, that arise during the requirements engineering process that will be a result of failing to make a clear separation between the different levels of description. We distinguish between them by using the term user requirements to uh, to mean the high-level abstract requirements and system requirements to mean the detailed description of what the system should do. Because user requirements and system requirements may be defined in different ways. No, user requirements are a statement in a natural language plus diagrams of what services the system expected to provide to system users and the constraint under which it must operate. On the other hand, system requirements are more detailed description of the software systems, functions, services, and operational constraint. The system requirements document, sometimes called a functional specification, should define exactly what is to be implemented. It may be part of the contract between the system buyer and the software developers. Different levels of requirements are useful because they communicate information about the system to different types of reader. No? Uh, you need to write requirements at different levels of detail because different readers use them in different ways. No, the reader of the user requirements are not usually concerned with how the system will be implemented, and maybe managers who are not interested in the detailed facilities of the system. The reader of the system requirements need to know more precisely what the system will do because they are concerned with how it will support the business processes or because they are involved in the system implementation. In a traditional view of requirements rather than requirements in an agile processes, for most large system, it is still the case that there is a clearly identifiable requirements engineering phase before the implementation of the system begins. Now, so the outcome is a requirement documents which may be part of the system development contract. Of course, there are usually subsequent changes to the requirements, and the user requirements may be expanded into more detailed system requirements. However, the agile approach of concurrently eliciting the requirements as the system is developed is rarely used for large system development. A while ago, I have mentioned about the functional and non-functional requirements. Now, software system requirements are often classified as functional requirements or non-functional requirements. The functional requirements, no, these are statement of services that the system should provide and how the system should react to particular inputs and how the system should behave in particular situation. In some cases, the functional requirements may also explicitly state what the system should not do. However, no, the non-functional requirements, these are constrained on the services of or functions offered by the system. They include timing constraint on the development process, and constraint imposed by standards. Non-functional requirements often apply to the system as a whole rather than individual system features of services. And in reality, the distinction between different types of requirement is not as clear-cut as this simple definition suggests. A user requirement concerned with security, such as a statement limiting access to authorized user, may appear to be a non-functional requirement. However, when developed in more detail, these requirements may generate other requirements that are clearly functional, such as the need to include user authentication facilities in the system. So this shows that requirements are not independent, and the one requirement often generates or constrains other requirements. The system requirements, therefore, do not just specify the services or the features of the system that are required. They also specify the necessary functionality to ensure that these services features are delivered properly. Again, the functional requirements for a system describe what the system should do, and these requirements depends on the type of software being developed, the expected users of the software, of course, and the general approach taken by the organizations when writing requirements. When expressed as user requirements, functional requirements are usually described in an abstract way that can be understood by system users. However, more specific functional system requirements describe the system function, its inputs and outputs, exemption, and others in details. A functional requirements or functional system requirements vary, no, from general requirements covering what the system should do to very specific requirements reflecting local ways of working or an organization existing system. Let's say, for example, of course, is the user should be able to search the appointment list, let's say for a clinic, no, and the system shall generate each day for each clinic a list of patients who are expected to attend appointments that day, and each staff member using the system should be uniquely identified by his or her 8-digit employee number. No, for the non-functional requirements, no, as the name suggests, are requirements that are not directly concerned with the specific services delivered by the system to its user. They may relate to emergent system properties such as reliability, response time, and store occupancy. Alternatively, they may define constraints on the system implementation such as the capabilities of an input-output devices or a data representation used in interfaces with other systems. No? Non-functional requirements such as performance, security, or availability usually specify or constrain characteristic of the system as a whole. So non-functional requirements are often more critical than individual functional requirements because system users can usually find ways to work around a system functions that doesn't really meet their needs. However, failing to meet a non-functional requirements can mean that the whole system is unusable. Let's say, for example, if an aircraft system does not meet its reliability requirements, it will not be certified as a safe for operation. If an embedded control system fails to meet its performance requirement, the control functions will not operate correctly. Although it is possible to identify which system components implement specific functional requirements. Let's say there may be formatting components that implement reporting requirements. It is often more difficult to relate components to non-functional requirements, and the implementation of the requirements may be diffused throughout the system. No? So non-functional requirements arise through user needs because of budget constraint, pwede rin namang organizational policies, the need for interoperability with other software or hardware system, or external factors such as safety regulations, right now in the Philippines, privacy legislation. And you can see, of course, that there are certain characteristics now of the software or the product requirements. The organization develop the software for the organizational requirements or from external sources like product requirements, no? organizational requirements, and external requirements. When it comes to the with the metrics, no, for specifying non-functional requirements, no, we look into the speed, size, ease of use, reliability, robustness, and portability. Now, the software requirement document, or sometimes called software requirement specification, is an official statement of what the system developers should implement. It should include both the user requirements for a system and a detailed specification of the system requirements. Sometimes the user and system requirements are integrated into a single description. So in other cases, the user requirements are defined in an introduction to the system requirement specification. if there are a large number of requirements, the detailed system requirements may be presented in a separate document. Requirements documents are essential when an outside contractor is developing the software system. However, again, agile development methods argue that requirements change so rapidly that a requirement document is out of date as soon as it is written. So the effort is largely wasted. Rather than a formal document, approaches such as extreme programming, no, collect user requirements incrementally and write this on card as user stories. No? The users then prioritize requirements for implementation in the next increment of the system. For business system where requirements are unstable, I believe that this approach is a good one. However, I think that it is still useful to write a short supporting documents that define the business and dependability requirements for the system. It is easy to forget the requirements that apply to the system as a whole when focusing on functional requirements for the next system release. So the requirements documents has a diverse set of users ranging from the senior management of the organization that is paying for the system to the engineers responsible for developing the software. So the user requirements, the users of the requirement documents are the customer or the system customers, managers, system engineers, system test engineers, and system maintenance engineers. Okay, the structure of the requirement documents consists of the preface, the introduction, the glossary, of course, the user requirements definition, system architecture, system requirements specification, system models, and system evaluation, appendices, and the index. No? For the requirements specification, it is the process of writing down the user and system requirements in a requirement document. Ideally, the user and the user requirements should be clear, unambiguous, easy to understand, complete, and consistent. In practice, this is difficult to achieve as stakeholders interpret the requirements in different ways, and there are often inherent conflicts and inconsistencies in the requirements because the user requirements for a system should describe the functional and non-functional requirements so that they are understandable by system users who don't have detailed technical know-how or knowledge. Ideally, they should specify only the external behavior of the system, and the requirements document should not include details of the system architecture or design. So, consequently, if you are writing user requirements, you should not use software jargon, structured notations, or formal notation. You should write user requirements in a natural language with simple table forms and intuitive diagrams. System requirements are expanded version of the user requirements that are used by software engineers as the starting point for the system design. They add detail and explain how the user requirements should be provided by the system. And they may be used as a part of the contract for the implementation of the system and should therefore be a complete and detailed specification of the whole system. Ideally, the system requirements should simply describe the external behavior of the system and its operational constraint. They should not be concerned with how the system should be designed or implemented. However, at the level of detail requirements to comply specify a complex software detail or software system, it is practically impossible to exclude all design information. No? There are certain ways of writing a system requirement specification. Consider the natural language sentences, structured natural language, design description languages, graphical notification, and mathematical specification. Natural language has been used to write requirements for software since the beginning of software engineering. It is expressive, intuitive, and universal. It is also potentially vague, ambiguous, and its meaning depends on the background of the reader. As a result, there have been many proposals for alternative ways to write requirements. However, none of these have been widely adopted, and natural language will continue to be the most widely used ways of specifying system and software requirements. A structured specification of a requirements for let's say for the insulin pump, no, we need to define the function, description, input, source, outputs, destination, action, requirements, precondition, post-conditions, and side effect. Another is the structured specification. Structural natural language is a way of writing system requirements where the freedom of the requirements writer is limited and all requirements are written in a standard way. This approach maintains most of the expressiveness and the understandability of natural language, but ensures that some uniformity is imposed on the specification. Structured language notations are uniformity is imposed on the specification, as I mentioned. Structured language notation use templates to specify system requirements, and the specification may use programming language construct to show alternatives in iteration and may highlight key elements using shading or different fonts. No? Most commonly, no, the requirement specification, requirements elicitation, and requirements validation and system requirements document covered with a spiral view of the requirements engineering process. So as what we discussed in module number 2, requirements engineering process may include 4 high-level activities, and this focus on assessing if the system is useful to the business, discovering requirements, converting these requirements into some standard form, and checking that the requirements actually define the system that the customer wants. And of course, in practice, requirement engineering is an iterative process in which the activities are interleaved. After an initial feasibility study, the next stage of the requirements engineering process is requirements elicitation and analysis. So in this activity, software engineers work with customers and system end users to find out about the application domain, what services the system should provide, the required performance of the system, hardware constraint, and so on. So the requirement elicitation and analysis process consider the requirements discovery, requirements specification, requirements classification organization, and requirements prioritization, and negotiation. Requirements elicitation analysis may involve a variety of different kinds of people in an organization. A system stakeholder is anyone who should have some direct or indirect influence on the system requirements. Stakeholders include end users who will interact with the system and anyone else in organizations who will be affected by it. Other system stakeholders might be engineers who are developing or maintaining other related system, business managers, domain expert, and trade union representative. A process model of the elicitation analysis process is in organizations, as I mentioned, there are certain process activities like requirement discovery, requirement classification and organization, requirement prioritization, and negotiation, and lastly is requirements specification. Another, of course, is interviewing. No, formal or informal interviews with system stakeholders are part of most requirements engineering processes. In these interviews, the requirements engineering team puts questions to stakeholders about the system that may currently use and the system to be developed. Requirements are derived from the answers to closed interviews where the stakeholders answer a predefined set of questions, or an open interviews in which there is no predefined agenda. The requirements engineering team explore a range of issues with system stakeholders and hence develop a better understanding of their needs. So in practice, interviews with stakeholders are normally a mixture of both of these. And you may have to obtain the answer to certain questions, but this usually lead on to the other issues that are discussed in a less structured way. Completely open-ended discussion rarely work well. No, you usually have to ask some questions to get started and to keep the interview focused on the system to be developed. Interviews are good for getting an overall understanding of what stakeholders do, how they might interact with the new system, and the difficulties that they face, no, with the current system. People like talking about their work, so are usually happy to get involved in interviews. However, interviews are not so helpful in understanding the requirements from the application domain. For the scenarios, people usually find it easier to relate to real life example rather than abstract description. They can understand and criticize a scenario of how they might interact with the software system. So requirements engineers can use the information gained from the discussions to formulate the actual system requirements. Scenarios can be particularly useful for adding detail to an outline requirements description. They are descriptions of example interaction session, and each scenario usually covers one or a small number of possible interactions. Different forms of scenarios are developed and they provide different types of information, different level of details about the system. So another is the use cases. No, use cases are requirement discovery technique that were first introduced in the objectory method. No, they have now become a fundamental feature of unified modeling language or UML. No, in their simplest form, a use case identifies the actors no involved in the interaction and names of the type of interaction. This is then supplemented by additional information describing the interactions with the system. The additional information may be a textual description or one or more graphical models, such as UML sequence or state charts. Okay, so use cases are documented using a high-level use diagram. The set of the use cases represent all of the possible interactions that will be described in the system requirements. So actors in the process who may be a human or other systems are represented as stick figures. Each class of interaction is represented as a name ellipse. No? Before kasi, no, we are using the IPO or the input process output when it comes to our conceptual framework. But right now, we are observing the use of use cases. No? Limited people only using the IPO because it is suggested for us to use or to utilize the available use cases, applications, or tools. No? We have, of course, the ethnography and prototyping for requirements analysis. No? Another is requirements of validation. No? Requirements validation is the process of checking the requirements actually define the system that the customer really wants. So it overlaps with analysis as it is concerned with findings problems with the requirements. So requirements validation is important because errors in a requirements document can lead to extensive rework cost when these problems are discovered during development or after the system is in service. The cost of fixing a requirements problem by making a systems change is usually much greater than repairing design or coding errors. So the reason for this is that a change to the requirement usually means that the system design and implementation must also be changed. Furthermore, the system must then be retested, and during the requirements validation process, different types of checks should be carried out on the requirements in the requirement documents, like validity checks, consistency check, completeness checks, realism checks, and verifiability. The requirements evolution start from the initial understanding of the problem, initial requirements, change understanding of problem, and change requirements. So you should not underestimate the problem involved in requirements validation. Ultimately, it is difficult to show that a set of requirements does in fact meet a user's needs. No, users needs to picture the system in operations and imagine how that system would fit into their work. It is hard even for skilled computer professionals to perform this type of abstract analysis, and harder still for system users. As a result, no, you rarely find all requirements problems during the requirements validation process. It is inevitable, no, that there will be further requirements changes to correct omissions and a misunderstanding after the requirements document has been agreed upon. And lastly, about the requirements management. The requirements for large software systems are always changing. One reason for this is that these systems are usually developed to address weak problems and problems that cannot be completely defined. Because the problem cannot be fully defined, the software requirements are bound to be incomplete. And during the software process, the stakeholders' understanding of the problem is constantly changing, and the system requirements must then also evolve to reflect this changed problem view. Requirements management planning. Planning is an essential first stage, no, in the requirements management process, because the planning stage establishes the level requirements management detail that is required. Now, during the requirements management stage, you have to decide, of course, on the requirements in identification, a change management process, traceability policies, and tool support. No? Requirements management needs automated support, and the software tools for this should be chosen during the planning phase. So you need the tool support like requirement storage, change management, and traceability management. But for a small system, it may not be necessary to use specialized requirements management tools, because the requirements management process may be supported using the facilities available in word processor, spreadsheet, and PC databases. However, for large systems, more specialized tool support is required. And we have, of course, some information about requirements management tools in some web pages. No? Another is the requirement change management. Requirements change management should be applied to all proposed changes to a system requirements after the requirements document has been approved. Change management is essential because you need to decide if the benefits of implementing new requirements are justified by the cost of implementation. The advantages of using a formal process for changing management is that all change proposals are treated consistently, and changes to the requirements document are made in a controlled way. And the three principal stages to change of management process are problem analysis and change specification, change analysis and costing, and lastly is the change implementation. If a new requirement has to be urgently implemented, there is always a temptation to change the system and then retrospectively modify the requirements documents. You should try to avoid this, as it always inevitably leads to the requirement specification and the system implementation getting out of step. Once system changes have been made, it is easy to forget to include these changes in the requirements documents, or to add information to the requirements documents that is inconsistent with the implementation. Again, agile development processes such as extreme programming had been designed to cope with the requirements that change during the development process. In this process, when as user propose a requirements change, this change does not go through a formal change management process. Rather, the user has to prioritize the change, and if it is high priority, decide what system features that were planned for the next iteration should be dropped. Okay, so to sum up the discussions of this module, no, requirements for a software system set out what the system should do and define constraints on its operations and implementation. Number 2, key points. Functional requirements are statements of the services that the system must provide or are descriptions of how some computations must be carried out. Number 3, non-functional requirements often constrain the system being developed and the developed process being used. This might be the product requirements, organizational requirements, or external requirements. They often relate to the emergent properties of the system and therefore apply to the system as a whole. Number 4, the software requirements document is an agreed statement of the system requirements. It should be organized so that both system customers and software developers can use it. Number 5, the requirements engineering process include a feasibility study, requirements elicitation, analysis, and requirement specification, requirement validations, and requirement management. Requirements elicitation analysis is an iterative process that can be represented as a spiral requirements or activities. Requirements discovery, requirements specification and organization, requirements negotiation, realism and completeness, and verifiability. Lastly, business, organizational, and technical changes inevitably lead to changes to the requirements for a software system. Requirements management is the process of managing and controlling these changes. So I think that's it for this topic.